Welcome to the 8 types of people voting for Kamala Harris. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the 8 types of people voting for Donald Trump. Of course, you will notice some similarities, but that's mainly because the scale that we're using is the same, and really so is human nature. And while my Trump video might have been informative for Trump voters, it was really designed for Harris voters to check out. And in the same vein, you may learn a little bit about yourself if you're a Harris voter and find a place for yourself on the scale. However, this video is to help Trump voters understand why someone might vote for a candidate like Harris. If you haven't seen the 8 types of people origins, please do check out that video for a more comprehensive breakdown. So let's get into it. Let's start with our angel. This person could be a lifelong Democrat, a women's rights activist, or a Republican with policy in mind. But one thing is for certain. They believe a vote for Kamala Harris is the best thing they or anyone else can do in the 2024 election. They think Harris will bring about progress and stability for those who need it most. They believe that America would do well under Harris and Walz and hope that those who feel that way will get out and vote this November. But whoever you choose to vote for, they respect your opinion due to their understanding of democracy, something they will continue to fight for. And that's because this person is going to be the angel, the role model during election season and at any other point in life. It's just who this person is. They're the moral good. They're a positive person. They work to eliminate problems, not start them, not create them. And this is a consistent behavior. We shouldn't be surprised by this. And I do think that about 5% of people have an angelic or angel type personality and angel type behaviors as a part of their normal life. So we can probably guess that about 5% of Harris voters are these really pure types of people. Let's talk about the philanthropist. The Harris-Walz campaign, hybrid committees, aligned PACs, and super PACs have raised an astounding $1.39 billion in a very short amount of time. And this person, our philanthropist, was definitely a part of these record-breaking donations. Not only do they believe that Harris aligns with their values for the current state of the country and the long-term future, they also think she'll have a major impact on society as a whole if she's elected. They pour money into campaigns like this as a natural part of their personality. This is kind of what they do. They often engage the community and build relationships due to their influence and their advocacy efforts, so this is just an obvious choice in where they choose to apply their precious funds. That's because the philanthropist is a doer. They really care, and because they care, they do something about it. They are actively engaged in behaviors like this, and their philanthropic endeavors address societal issues and improve the lives of those in need. This is what they do. And about 10% of people have the attitude and the means to be this kind of person. It would only make sense they would do the same thing with a candidate they're passionate about. Let's talk about the hopeful. This person is desperate to see things change, which tells us things may have been difficult for them during the Trump administration and ever since. They may have been worried about the direction things have been going, and because they have a super sense for hope, a lack of it is kind of like running on empty for them. They believe a vote for Harris will bring about this change and that Harris will continue the work of the Biden administration in repairing the country since the events of 2020. Some hopefuls have not been as affected by Trump, but look to Harris in the hopes of making history and changing the face of America forever with the first female president, or maybe the first South Asian president, whatever their reasoning. I think we probably have more hopefuls out there than angels and philanthropists combined. At least 15% of people are going to have this kind of upper positive personality. That's because this is a person who cares. They believe something can be done. They believe in the possibility of positive change, and that motivation to work towards that change isn't going anywhere for them. Let's talk about the ally. The word ally is usually synonymous with progressive values like social justice, equity, and inclusivity. This is something that is more closely aligned with the Democratic Party's platform, so people who identify as allies are naturally more aligned with Harris. Allies value broad coalitions that represent diverse voices. Thanks to everything we've been learning as a society since 2020, this election presents a unique opportunity to create partnerships with Republicans and independents that are crossing party lines in the 2024 election. In their fervor to support marginalized communities, they seek a champion of social justice that will fortify civil rights. Allies represent one of the larger percentages of people on our 8 types of people scale. This is an average person who cares, but they don't always know what to do. But that doesn't mean they're not committed to standing in solidarity, for advocating for inclusivity and unity. I think one of the hardest things about being an ally is wanting so badly to see change, but not knowing how to have the conversations with the people who are opposed to the changes that you're trying to make, the people people who are maybe perhaps accidentally supporting oppression without knowing it. And allies have to work really, really hard to find that satisfaction within themselves. It's really easy to give up on that and turn into our next person, the lone wolf. These two sit side by side on the scale, and it really is a shift from focusing on others to focusing on self that has us leaning the other way on our scale. So let's talk about the lone wolf. The average lone wolf has been pulling further away from all of you weirdos for years, but those who are choosing to vote this election cycle are taking this seriously. By the time you see this video, they will have mailed in their ballot, giving them a little distance from the feeling of participating because ew. Something about Harris or the current Democratic platform points has helped them recognize the broader impact of this election and the next 4 years of American life. Because they desire specific change, they have selected a specific candidate and cast their vote strategically. Their vote has little to do with you or me or anyone else because in the long run, the lone wolf has one person at the top of their mind. This person doesn't really care, but it's very rare that they've always felt that way. In fact, many of them choose to stop caring, and I can totally identify with this because caring about something that you can't change can feel devastating. There's only a couple people on this list that I would look at and be like, ew, you can't sit with me, you can't sit with us. And the lone wolf just isn't one of them. Yeah, they may prefer to chart their own course and they don't really feel compelled to engage with societal issues, but there's a good reason for it. To the lone wolves out there who did choose to participate in this election, if you've got even a couple minutes to share why, it would probably go a really long way with the people in your life. Now let's talk about the cynics. They may be a Republican voting for Harris due to their dislike of Trump's new conservatism. They may be an independent who cannot see themselves voting for Trump or a Republican candidate. In fact, like our lone wolf, the cynics are less likely to participate by voting in elections. Unlike the lone wolf, this isn't just because they wouldn't know what to do. Sometimes the cynic thinks the best thing we can do is burn it down and start from scratch. For a person like this to vote for what many would deem the more positive candidate, this person is either focused on policy or pissing people off. Hope for change or a sense of civic duty are rare feelings for a cynic, but the state of America might have driven this person to action. However, cynics can and do have causes. Even if they're more focused on the problem than the solution, like I said, they make great risk managers. Whatever the reason they will cast their vote for Harris, they understand that engagement is necessary to influence the political landscape, even if they're skeptical about the system itself. I think about 15% of people have this cynical kind of downer personality. Think about the Debbie Downer trope. This person doesn't care. They don't think anything can be done. It's not that the cynic doesn't care because they just don't care and they're such a bad person. For many of them, they feel disillusioned or apathetic towards these societal issues because they believe that efforts to address them are futile. This is another person I think could help a lot of people by sharing why they did decide to cast their vote. Now let's talk about the con. And I want to address something. The con is still a person, and they are still an American when they go out and commit crimes. If they are legally entitled to cast their vote, none of us can really speak to that. So sure, some con types are voting this election just because they have the right to do so. But let's be real. There's never a last job for a con, and there's always an angle. They might tell you it's strategy or policy alignment, or that they just don't like the alternative option in Donald Trump. But every campaign has their cons and devils, and the Harris campaign is not immune. That's because the political world is rife with self-seeking crooks, hoping to secure the benefits of being associated with somebody like Harris, or even the favors or perks promised by other crooks and cons in exchange for their vote and endorsement. This person genuinely believes a vote for Harris will benefit them. Sometimes it's as little as using this facade of alignment with good in order to manipulate public sentiment in the future. It's because this person is a con, forever a cheater, forever an outlaw. Many people with this personality and who live lifestyles like a con would, unless they choose to be rehabilitated, they love their life. They love their experiences. They love what they're doing. They love the feeling that it gives them. They love being able to prioritize their own interests and disregard ethical considerations. They love engaging in illegal or unethical behavior to achieve their goals. This is who they are. And as much as we might want to believe that everyone voting for a candidate we don't like must be a bad person or a con or a devil, it's also kind of a challenging place to be. I think most people are not cut out for that kind of life, and that's why such a small percentage actually get to live in society and successfully exist as a con for a really, really long time. And last, we have the devil. I started with the devil when I did my Trump video because I really thought that that's what everybody was going to assume I was going to talk about. I think I started with the angel in this video because typically the Democratic candidate is viewed as cool, fun, positive. So why would a dark evil even be drawn to them? And I think that's because the last point about the con is also very true for the devil. It's like, hey, remember when I voted for the candidate you liked? You should work with me. Same thing. Just like there's a small percentage of devil type people voting for Trump, there's a small percentage that will also vote for Harris. Devils revel in chaos, and they have had multiple election seasons to master their tricks. This person has been pissing off every Trump supporter since 2020. And while that may seem fine, what do you think will happen once this devil gets bored with them? They will turn right around and with their own party, their own platform, their own people, because they never actually cared. And that's because inside of an election season and outside of it, the devil is a devil, a true narcissist, the immoral evil, jaded, negative. They continue the darkness. They manipulate, they deceive, they exploit others, and it's all for their own gratification. See, the cons are looking for benefits, something tangible, or even favors, because the cons are more transactional. But devils, they're just fucking crazy. These people get excited over a really fucked up argument on Facebook. These people are fueled by hatred. This is the one time of year, every 4 years, where people who would never speak or associate, never cross paths, join up with others to take down an opponent. So we've got these 8 different types of people voting for either candidate. But the problem is, political identity is so entrenched in everything we do now, so the opponent is your literal actual neighbor rather than the candidate. A lot of people are letting a lot of bad things get swept under the rug right now. We do it every 4 years, all in the name of getting that win. But at some point, we will all have to deal with each other. I know it seems normal to act like this every 4 years, but it's not. It's gross. So try your best not to make things worse this year, being mad at people voting in an election that billions across the world will never get to experience, holding freedoms that billions across the world will never get to feel. Vote every year, and maybe you will see the change you've been searching for. To look at your fellow patriots and see them as less than human says a lot more about you than you think. Rather than stressing yourself out and increasing your likelihood of a panic attack or cardiac event, cast your vote, accept the results, and start working on bringing yourself back to rights. If we all did that, we'd all be better together. Otherwise, settle this on election day like a real American. The last time I had put this in, I don't know if anybody saw it because nobody said anything about it, but I just wanted you to know that this is what I believe kindness looks like. Bye. Okay, bye.